Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks. We've got Clint's Oliver 55 in the shop again today. Now if you guys remember, if you've watched the videos in the past, we had pulled his hydraulic pump and everything off just like we've done today because he was having a lot of oil in the transmission. He's losing basically today when we drained the oil in the hydraulic reservoir, there really wasn't any to speak of. So he's losing his oil. Now we thought originally it was all these seals. We replaced all those. It didn't do a thing to help. And so the only other place it can be leaking is from this hydraulic pump. And I'll bring you in and get you a little bit closer look at that real quick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer you guys back to the original video that we watched. And I'll put a link right here in your upper right hand corner right now to that video. So you can just click on it. If you haven't seen that and how we remove the reservoir and everything, watch that video first and then just come back to this one. We're going to look at removing the hydraulic pump now, and there's a lip seal in there, and I think that's probably what's leaking. There's a gear right here, and again, I'll bring the camera in and let you see that, but there's a gear there that links to the transmission. When we fire up the engine, it turns your pump, and we think that we're getting oil leaking around that lip seal into his transmission. It's really, if you think about it, the only other place it could be leaking into the transmission. So I'll bring you in for a close look now. So there's the transmission, the hydraulic pump right there. That's the back side. I'm going to get you a look at the front. Do me a favor, Clint. Can you? Yeah.
It's actually in the fluids going around, and then it's not going into the transmission, but down and out the inspection plate.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. So there is the front of the hydraulic pump. So I believe we've got a lip seal right there. You're not seeing it, I'm sure, but this is our hydraulic pump. This is the gear that engages on the transmission, and I believe we're getting our hydraulic fluid leaking around that. We're pulling this pump out now. So these two bolts here, Clint's pulling out as we speak. And then let me show you what we've already pulled out as well. We went ahead and took out this bolt right there, and then it had another corresponding bolt on this side. And I believe once we get the two bolts out there, we should be able to pull this whole pump straight out. So,
All right, I'll hold this so you can.
oh yeah, yeah. I can feel the whole thing moving. Yeah. So it's these right here are little dowels. I'll show you that here. Okay. So you can see those little dowels hopefully on there, and that's what keys it into the right spot on that. It has to be precise obviously because this gear meshes with your transmission. So we're going to take this to the bench now, and we're going to see if we can get a good look at that seal in there. Guys, you're seeing what we're seeing. So I just unbolted these bolts that bolt to this while it was still in the tractor. And then we realized, hey, there's only a few more bolts so we can pull the whole thing out of there. And since the lip seal is down in there, and I can see it right now, I knew we'd have to get this nut and pull this gear off and that kind of thing. So there's no sense in trying to keep it in the tractor. So first things first, we got to get that nut off. Got a 3/4 inch impact socket on here. So we're just going to put it on there and see if we can. You could get that off other ways, but it's so hard to hold that steel without using an impact. So there's our washer. I was just putting the 3-jaw puller on here and just snugging it up. You know how you get these tight on the gear, and it just pulled right off. So yours may be that easy to come off as well. I mean, it felt like it was on there pretty snug, but it came off pretty easily. So there is a little bit of a key here. So we will need to take that off to be able to get the lip seal out of there as well. So, all right. So there's our little Woodruff key. Just a half moon You can kind of get to that and see it a little bit better. All right, guys, there's just a little retaining ring in there. So get your retaining ring pliers out. Squeeze that thing together. Be careful not to let that thing spring across the floor. All right, so now that that's out, we should have just the lip seal, and then there should be a bearing in there as well. So, not sure the best way to get that out, and it might be, I think we are going to have to take this part off. So, that's what I'll do next. I think we'll go ahead and remove these bolts here and separate the back piece here from the front half of the pump.
Wipe it down.
All right, now that we're apart here, I'm hoping I can separate these two and then I don't need to take that bolt off. Yep, there we go. Okay, so here we go. Now, well, that's neat looking. I'm going to put this on. Done a few things off camera that I'm going to try to catch you up on. So this was inside there. Sorry. This was inside there. And that shaft, once I separated this on the back side, I took the back plate off and I just simply tapped it. There was nothing holding it on but these dowel pins, and I'll show you those dowel pins.
This might be, see,
the dowel pins right there are the only thing that was holding that on. So now I've popped that out. So I think what Clint and I are going to end up doing is we're going to replace this bearing. And it's not that it feels bad, it feels good. And we'll keep it if we can salvage it when we pull it off of there. But no sense in being this deep into the hydraulic pump and not replacing the rubber seals and a bearing here too. Our seal that we need to get to, the one that we're pretty sure that it's leaking, and we may have some O-rings leaking too. One of the O-rings looks really flat, but you can see right in there, that seal is pretty chewed up looking and definitely worse for the wear. So we're gonna punch that out of there real quick, and I think that'll be fairly cut and dry.
this might be interesting. This, I don't know what you call it, but it's got these, it's almost like a bearing with all these little...
Yeah, that's what creates your hydraulic pressure as it spins around.
Be careful when you take that apart, you don't lose those.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So yeah, so clean that up, but be careful you don't want to lose those little fins or whatever you call it.
Tabs.
Tabs, yeah, that create that hydraulic pressure as it spins. All right. All right. Okay guys, so that's the seal right there. Just used one of those blind hole pullers, very cheap. Looks like we got a shim there too that I didn't see. So that's important. So that goes above the seal. That's important. I'm taking off this. This is just our bearing. We decided, you know, since we're here, we're gonna replace the bearing if we can get one. I'm pulling it off. I don't even have to use the impact. You can clearly see this thing's just pulling right off. I probably could have just used a small little hammer and just popped that thing off. It slid off so easy. So a little bit. We also have a seal here. It's a Vickers seal. This is the seal that I think's probably where most of our fluid is leaking past, would be my guess. Could be one of these O-rings though. The O-rings don't look fantastic. They're a bit flat, but it was probably shim. That. Yeah, the shim. Well, the shim we don't have to replace.
No, just don't forget. Don't lose it.
Oh yeah. We'll put that there. The Vickers seal. It's got a 1G3 175031 written on it. All right, guys. So here are the new parts, or I should say, the parts that have been cleaned and ready to go back into the tractor or into the pump. So we did get a new bearing, we got a couple new O-rings, And then the new seal, it doesn't look quite like the old seal, obviously. It's open on one end, but this is a modern seal. This is what everybody's going to have. They're not going to have those old Vicker seals. So we're ready to start putting it back together, so that's what we're going to do now.
Oh, it's not bad now. And steering, wheel steering I want to talk about, and
Yeah.
the radiator. But neither one of them's having issues.
All right, guys. I went ahead and just used a driver to drive that seal in right there. And I put a little bit of oil on the shaft here, guys. We've got the seal in there. Just sliding this in. That's where. Okay, guys, here's our seal. You do want to make sure that that seal, the open end, is toward the oil side. So that's important, because if not, you're going to end up pulling it back out just like we had to do. Like that. Then our ring, make sure that doesn't have anything. Okay, looks good. That's just a little, I don't know if it's just a distance ring for the bearing. I'm not sure what the purpose of that thing is, but it snaps in there, goes in fairly tight up against the seal. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It doesn't look like our bearing has any kind of a direction in it. So now we've got to put that in. Just a hair bit of oil. Okay. Man, got a lot of oil rags dirtied up already. And that just kind of snaps in over that seal, or through that seal. And then next is our bearing. Bearing's going to go like that, so we have to have something that will go around this shaft and hammer that in. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil. That'll just kind of help let that thing go in. There is no direction on your bearing, at least on ours. Yours may have one if you have a different brand or something, but ours doesn't have it. I think this was the right one. The bigger of the two. This is the one. So I just got a 1 3/8 inch socket, and that's going to allow me, it's kind of a perfect fit in our case. And you could press this in as well. But I think that might be kind of overkill for this. It seems to be going in pretty easily. And if you remember, we were able to take this bearing out real easily. I put the puller on it and just ended up coming off without me even doing a whole lot. All right. I think we got her seated in there. Probably unnecessary, but we got it. Might as well use it. All right, this is where a small little hammer comes in handy. I'm going to try to recess this a little bit deeper, guys. Inside, yeah, this should get us inside. Because I don't think we've got our bearing deep enough, because there's a C-clip that goes in there. Yeah, that definitely moved on us. I think I'm bottomed out now. Yep. So you can see, guys, so that's important. So our C-clip goes right in here. And so you've got to get that bearing recessed in there to be able to get this little C-clip back in there, or you're just not going to get it in. So very important to do that. Okay. Get that pushed in there. Like that. Okay. That's in now. That. There we go. Oh. Okay. So now we got that on. Now, we didn't show it before because this, I didn't even see this one. There's a thicker washer, and it's every bit of an 1/8 inch thick. So that goes.
Had a lot of junk sealing it in there.
Yeah, a lot of crud. Then we have your lock washer. And then, of course, our nut. And before I hit that with the impact, we're going to put the rest of it together, just in case something were to need to take something apart. We won't have to, pry the thing apart again. So let's go ahead and put the rest of it together from the back side now. Okay, guys, we're just putting these two back together now. So we've got our O-ring in here, and so now, and I've just taken it off the vise is all I've done. Nothing. No major stuff's been done, and I'm just going to kind of tap it on here. It's kind of a snug fit. All right, there we go. All right, perfect. A little thing here, and I'm just going to look at it and see if I can tell any difference. I can't see any difference at all. So I'm going to go on a limb here and say that that probably doesn't matter. Okay, got that in. Throw just a little bit.
I just noticed that's not a circle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how it creates hydraulic pressure. So these little veins will pop out. They move the fluid, and they compress it. As the fluid gets tighter and tighter in this thing, and then it goes into the little ports down there. So, that's how it gets its pressure. Okay, so we've got these little nubs that stick up. We've got those. So obviously they go right over that. And then we have a little spring. That spring goes there. And then we have that, and that has an O-ring. So hopefully you can see all that. Just get that O-ring.
And those old ones were pretty flat.
Yeah, they were pretty flat. That guy found us some good ones here. All right. A little oil might help some of this stay in there, stay put. I don't think this can go anywhere because I think it's going to ride right on the outside edge. At least that's what it looks like to me on. But all we've done here is just put the piece on, and the way we figured out how it goes on, because it can be a little tricky, is obviously this goes on. This is what we unbolted on the tractor, and then you've got your dowels. That goes into the tractor, and you've got bolts that bolt it up. And then if you remember, we had 2 bolts on the other side that Clint undid for us, and they come from the top. So that was pretty much how we figured out the direction that this thing's supposed to go. So pretty simple. Now we're going to go ahead and snug up all of our bolts and get this thing put back on the tractor. And we've got new O-rings, new bearing, as well as a new seal. So we should be good to go. So let's get torquing on these, and we'll get you back when we're putting it on the tractor. Guys, I forgot to mention the bearing numbers and that kind of thing, so here you go. You need to pause that video and you can look at the numbers. So there's the seal and there's the bearings. And then we also replaced some O-rings, obviously, but no numbers for those. They just got to match them up. Okay, guys, so we bolted it back on. Real simple. We just bolted here and here. And then, if you recall, the 2 bolts on the outside here. So those 2 bolts. And once you do that, we just bolt the pipe back on. We didn't bother even using new gaskets. Our gaskets that we put on a few months ago were just fine. They weren't torn or anything. So we went ahead and used the old gaskets here and just made sure we torqued these all down real good. And then now what we're doing is we've just cleaned off the old gasket on this and the old gasket on the body of the tractor down here. And we've got a new gasket for it. And we actually had a pan gasket as well, but since we didn't take that pan off, we're not going to replace the gasket on between this pan and the top. But we are going to replace this one down here, of course. So now we're just going to do a little bit of cleaning and then we'll bolt it back up. We've got everything buttoned up. We've got the gasket on here with some gasket sealant on top. We're just taking our time bringing it down so we don't do any damage or misalign stuff. Okay, go ahead and lower it. Slow. Okay, hold right there. That went nice. Very smooth.
We left one bolt. This tank never fell out. That what we thought was a pin over there was a bolt along that side. We never pulled that bolt out.
Oh.
We thought it was a pin.
Okay. Hey, man.
It helped hold the gasket.
Yeah. Did its job.
You want me to go down now?
Yep, you can go all the way now. Yep, she's sinking in. Yep, it's there. We got her. Let's just put the shifter lever back in. And we really haven't moved the tractor any at all. And so shouldn't be too tough to get it back in, but you never know. He's just trying to guide that lever right between the shift rails there where he had it before, and then we have to check it, and if it's off, obviously we got to pull it out and readjust it. But just want to let you guys see that a little bit. And we've got the tractor put back together, and Clint's gone ahead and put some hydraulic fluid in the hydraulic reservoir, and we've operated the 3-point, and it's operating just fine right now, so no issues that we can see. We had to cycle it a few times, get the air out of it, but that's pretty normal, what you would have to do anytime. You can see a little bit of our gasket sealer kind of oozing out there, but that's okay. Looks like he got the shifter back in place just fine. And so it's ready to go. We'll watch him go ahead and get the tractor loaded up, because I figure if you've watched it this long, you probably have some desire to see an Oliver 55 or 550 move and do something. So we're going to watch him load his tractor up onto his trailer. Okay, go ahead and start it. Runs like a new one. Awesome.